Hi everyone and welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So joining me today, I'm so excited to have Diane Woolfrey with me.
Thank you.
Hello Diane, how are you today?
I am great.
I'm loving the shirt. I love the flowers. You said, is it too busy? There's no such thing in my world as too busy.
No, I figure if you're
better.
big, you might as well be bold.
Well, I think color and patterns are wonderful. So I'm glad you're here. And how we met was not very long ago. You were here in this very studio with your daughter, Michelle. Yes, and she was my guest. And I fell in love with your daughter, with her dog, Licio, and you, and your incredible story. It has been a challenging story, a wonderful story in many ways, but here we are, and I love that you're sharing the story because you can really help a lot of people by sharing this journey. So
and that's the point of being here today.
Yes, yeah. So I love that and appreciate that. So let's go back to Michelle again and her journey. And in 2008 or before 2008. It
was about 2005. She was just past her 15th birthday. She started to lose her vision, hand over fist, and we did a follow-up routine sort of assessment in the classroom, and the assessor came to me and said, Michelle has lost a significant amount of vision, Mrs. Woolfrey. I don't know, you need to take her to the ophthalmologist and have her looked at. Well, we didn't have an ophthalmologist, so I took her to the optometrist. You can always get an appointment with an optometrist quicker anyway.
Right.
And she had lost somewhere between 40 and 50% of her usable vision at that point in time. So it was, whoa, okay, what's happening with this? It was frightening. Yeah, yes. Very frightening for her. Very frightening for us as parents.
Absolutely. And so that continued. That was out of the blue, wasn't it? She was healthy, happy, active before that.
Yeah, and it just all of a sudden this happened. And so we started a journey of medical appointments to find out why and figure out whether her vision was going to go the rest of the way, what was causing it, what had happened, all of those kinds of things. So over the course of the next year, a few years, she would have been 15 at the time, going on 16. By the time she was 18, the last of her usable vision was basically gone.
Yes.
And we had to transfer her out of the regular school system into to Ross Macdonald School for the Blind in Brantford,
right.
So that she could learn the life skills that she needed to live her life without sight.
Yes. That is just, I can't even wrap my head around a teenager. First of all, teenagers are, can be a little difficult, let alone a teenager losing their vision. I mean, one of the most great, precious gifts we have, and one of our keys to being completely independent. Like suddenly you are learning new skills. Yes, you can live independently blind, but my goodness, that takes a lot of learning. And I can't even imagine what that was like. We shared Michelle's story, but today, like I said, I wanted you to come back to share the parents' perspective.
Exactly.
Of that.
So it became a nightmare of medical appointments and trips to the ophthalmologist indicated it was allergies. I looked at my husband and said, I've lived with allergies all my life. This is not allergies. And so why don't we do this? And so we took her down to Sick Kids in through the emergency department, and the ophthalmologist there saw us on an emergency basis because you can't get an ophthalmology appointment for at least a year.
Oh my goodness.
And so we took her in, and he saw her at the end of his workday, and he was very concerned about her. And then that was the start of the journey. My husband traveled for a living, so I was on my own for a lot of it, single parenting. There were periods of times where I couldn't work because Michelle needed 24-hour supervision. She was at St. Joan of Arc Secondary in Barrie, and her friends basically deserted her because they were just so frightened by what was happening. There was no explanation as to why she was losing her sight, how she was losing her sight. There was no impact. There was no anything that anyone could put their hands on and say, this is what and so her friends were terrified. They didn't know what to do.
Right.
So they just they gradually avoided.
Oh,
and,
it's
as
just
we
so
all
sad.
do, right?
Yes,
and
well,
so she
yes.
became more and more and more isolated. More isolated. Spending more and more time at home and more time out of the classroom, and then you know, it escalated to the point where she did end up under a suicide watch at Royal Victoria Hospital.
Oh my goodness!
For 72-hour hold, and then she ended up at home, and family came in and watched her for a week till I could give notice on finish a contract that I was on, and then I didn't work for a couple of months after that to just sort of be home and supervise her, make sure that she stayed safe.
How frightening as a mother.
Scary.
Very
Scary
frightening
stuff.
and
Yeah.
alone. Did you have support? Did you have counselors? Did you have a village? Were you?
There was no village. At the time, my mother was starting in dementia, with dementia.
Boy.
And so my father was very occupied keeping mother sort of controlled and contained and safe himself. And my mother didn't recognize and couldn't remember what was happening with Michelle. And so, you know, Phil and I just sort of muscled through as best we could. I had some friends around me, but again, people are very frightened. I was frightened by what was happening.
My goodness, yes.
And my friends didn't know how to help. They just didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to help. And we're all busy. We have our lives. We have our own kids to raise. We have our own commitments and so forth. It's really hard to know what to do in that kind of a situation.
Yes.
And so we struggled through on our own. Michelle, fortunately, through Sick Kids Hospital, ended up with a psychiatrist assigned to her, an MSW, as part of their care package. Because of the suicide, primarily the suicide attempt, and
so she had one suicide attempt.
So she did. She did several.
Okay.
This was the one that landed her in the hospital.
Okay.
And so she had some support. We rallied the troops around her. She got what she needed, and in the process, we got a little bit of what we needed. And I reached out through my husband's employee assistance plan.
Oh, good.
And got some family counseling going for the three of us. Michelle chose not to participate, but my husband and I, of course, went and
I'm glad to hear that.
Structure.
Yes.
How to look after this child.
Yes, because life does go on, and you're going through this with your daughter. You're frightened. Her, you know, obviously her mental health is unstable, and I'm sure you have your own things going on, and trying to wrap your head around the awfulness of
what was happening.
Yes.
And how did we miss the fact that she was in such a dark place, because she had several attempts, apparently.
Right.
That sort of came out over time. And so, you know, we got through it as best we could. And, you know, we spent those 72 hours while she was in hospital securing the house. All the ropes and extension cords and everything into the shed at the back. You know, everything that was sharp went into toolkits on the dining room table, all the knives, because she had a plan, but she wouldn't disclose her plan. I slept at night with, I had a very, very large suitcase. We called it the condominium, that my husband packed in for really big trips because it held a lot of stuff. And I put all of the over-the-counter medication in it, locked it. The keys went on my car with my car keys, and they went under my pillow at night. And that's the way I slept in the bedroom on one side of her. My husband slept in the bedroom on the other side of her. And that's the way we lived for probably the best part of 9 months.
That is a hard way to live.
That's hard.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but
don't make the host cry.
We got through it. Yeah, we got through it.
Wow.
And that's what's important.
Well, and I've met your daughter, who sat right there, and she's just like a light of love. And I love that she even said, I still have my I hate being blind days.
She does.
Yes.
She does. And she had
good
one
for her.
She had one a couple of weeks ago. And yes, it's a challenge, you know.
Yes, but right now, even though she has those days, what is Michelle doing right now?
Right now, today as we speak,
Yes.
she's in California.
Yes.
And I'm not sure whether she's driving a wave runner or whether she's learning to surf today.
Okay.
On Monday, she was in the water park, and got 2 black eyes, but had a hell of a good time.
It was worth it.
It was
right?
wonderful. Tuesday, they did a hike. She sat out from the hike. She went to the beach in the afternoon. I'm not sure what yesterday was, but I haven't heard anything today.
Right.
I've had no phone calls in the last 48 hours, so everything is fine.
No news is good news. I think that's extraordinary because, you know, there will be dark days. We all have dark days, and having those I hate being blind days, absolutely have those days. But look at what else is possible also.
Exactly.
Incredible adventure. Yeah. Incredible adventure.
Incredible adventure. I swear that she looks for activities that will make my hair go gray. And then she signs up.
There you go.
And this is her goal in life.
Yes.
Make me as gray as she can.
But you just have to,
you know,
right? You just have to let her, this is her journey. I mean, I know our older son, Tyler, who lives out west, sometimes he would call and some of the things he was doing, or I'd see a video he posted, I don't know, as he fell out of a tree because he was doing something ridiculous. And I just, okay, well, oh good, I'm glad you landed well and you didn't have to go to the hospital. Just take some breaths, right?
Exactly.
That is her journey.
Just pay the insurance and just keep moving.
Just keep moving. So I do want to go back because I think something really important when people, you have your I just showed up bracelet, I have mine, and you know the whole message with that is when we don't know what to do, we don't know what to say, we avoid, but all we need to do is just show up. Even though you can't fix it, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, yes. And to think back at that time with Michelle's friends, they all need to forgive themselves for not showing up, but you know, when you look back, wouldn't it have been wonderful for them to be able to say, we don't know what to do or say, but we're here, and we want to be here for you. We want to include you.
Exactly. It would have been delightful to have that happen. But you know, she ended up at Ross McDonald, and she was in a circle of friends who were all in various states of losing their vision or having lost their vision, born blind, lost, accidents, sports accidents, whatever reason they lost their vision. And she had a great team of friends around her when she was there, and really learned a lot from them as to not only how to deal with life, but how to deal with other people and their ignorance around what it means to be blind. Yes. Because there's blind and then there's blind. Yes. There's total vision loss and there's partial vision loss. And, Michelle was determined that she was not going to sit in a chair or hang out on my couch under a blanket for the rest of her life. She was going to, just at some point, she made the decision she was going to live her life, blind or not.
Yeah, and what an important decision to make, and what a great example for other people, because I'm sure there's somebody somewhere out there that had, whatever has happened to them, their life has changed and they're no longer able to do the things that they once loved to do. But then you have the opportunity to find different things to do. Like she's learning how to surf. I would never do that. I'd be petrified.
I mean, I would no more get up on a...
No.
The child downhill skis. She absolutely loves downhill skis. The faster the hill, the faster the run, the steeper the hill, the happier she is. I personally would not put a set of skis on my feet. I just don't do that.
Right. But it doesn't stop her.
You have to be able to see to know to be afraid.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's part of it, you know.
Sure.
When she was climbing the high ropes course, how do you do that? Well, I can't see the ground, Mom, so, I don't really know how high I am.
That's hilarious.
So
good point, yes. Yeah.
And zip across she goes,
My goodness. Wow.
So whatever she wants to do, somewhere along the line, I don't know whether I said it or her dad said it, I think it was probably me, if you find something you want to do, if you can find a way to do it, you can do anything you want to do, you're just going to do it differently.
Sure.
Find a way to do it, and your dad and I will pay for it.
Aren't you wonderful?
I really wish I hadn't said that, because it cost me a lot of money over the years.
Yes, but there's a young boy at the school that my kids go to, and they went to a high ropes course, and he has a disability and he can't climb, so they rigged up this thing so they could tow him right up there, and there he was on the high ropes course, just having the time of his life. there is possibility in every ability, disability, and in how you can frame and reframe your life. And I think the two of you are extraordinary. Now, as we go on, of course, as I say, grief shows no mercy sometimes, because just because you went through this difficult journey doesn't mean other grief isn't going to show up in your life.
It does not. It is going to show up with a vengeance. It's
coming, and you have, in the last several years, or few years anyways, gone through tremendous grief.
We've had some losses. As I said before, my mother had dementia, and so in 2013 we lost her. She got a blood clot in her leg. It was an unrelated situation, blood clot in her leg, and we ended up losing her that way. 2 weeks later, we lost my mother-in-law at 92.
Oh, geez.
She had lived a wonderful life.
Right.
And had hung on at the retirement home to the dead last second. And they had to drag her out of there to the nursing home. She didn't last 48 hours in the nursing home.
Wow.
We lost her. We lost her just 2 weeks later.
Right.
And then, of course, my father went the following spring.
Wow.
As quite often happens with couples that are married a long, long time. They were married almost 60 years, or just in excess of 60 years.
Yes.
So you lose that. Oh. It's like losing a body part, right?
Oh, that's a lifetime.
He just couldn't couldn't do that. He had an aortic tear. And went very quickly, which was fortunate as well.
Yes.
Because he lived the way he wanted to live right up to the dead last day, and did exactly the things he wanted to do.
Good.
And then 2 years later, of course, we lost my husband.
Yes.
So that was a bit of a blow as well. So Michelle went from 3 grandparents to no grandparents and no father within 4 years. That was a challenge.
Oh my goodness! What did you hang on to? How did you both get through all of this?
You hang on to your faith. You hang on to the friends that you've surrounded yourself on. You hang on to each other, and you do the best that you can. You reach out into the community. I found a wonderful bereavement group.
Good.
We started to meet. We met for a period of 6 weeks, once a week. 2 years later, we're still having dinner together once a month, which is wonderful. And my daughter joined a bereavement group at the university and met a lot of lovely girls, lovely people through that, and did some stuff. And of course, she was still going through counseling, so we added that into the pile. And you have to keep going.
You have to keep going, and I think it's so wonderful to connect with people. We don't have the same exact journey, but who have been through similar journeys, like when Michelle went to school and other children were also losing their vision. I can be very compassionate and try to be understanding. I'm not losing my vision, right? So when you
don't know what that's like until it's happening.
That's right.
And I was in one of the hallways, and I heard a bunch of the kids talking together, and some of the jokes and the slams that they gave each other, I would be horrified. I would never say that to
and
one
you're
of
not
my
allowed
friends.
to say, yes, you can't say it.
Not only politically incorrect, it would be very hurtful.
Right.
But, teenagers talk to each other in the way that teenagers talk to each other.
Absolutely.
And incredibly supportive and direct and to the point, and you always know that they're saying exactly what they mean.
Yes, I think, so to connect with the peer support, the people who have been through similar things, to go to counseling, to reach out. If you don't have a supportive circle, find someone who can be there for you. There are people out there who care.
There are people out there who care. There are more who care than those who don't.
That's right.
Is the reality. And you turn to your faith group if that is your that is your choice. It was for me. It wasn't for my husband. And you just keep going.
Absolutely.
Find it where you can.
Oh, so you've been through all of these losses. Michelle is living independently, or she lives on her own.
She is. She shares an apartment with another visually impaired young lady.
Oh, wonderful.
Who's a massage therapist.
Oh gosh, that would be perfect.
So the two of them make a formidable team.
Yes.
And so every now and again, I go down and I go through the fridge and read all the stale dates and throw out all the food that's maybe changing color, or the science experiments out of the back of the fridge.
They don't see it changing color.
And make sure
Fair enough.
everything, the expiry dates are all, check it all out, make a list, replace it all.
That's funny.
You know, make sure that they're not eating something that they shouldn't, or that's going to make them sick. And,
Right.
And they just, Kathleen is working, and she's going to school part-time for osteopathy.
Wow.
She's a little go-getter, and Michelle's at Ryerson studying human rights and diversity and law, and she's heading for law school, I guess, next year. She finishes in April.
You must be incredibly proud.
Law wouldn't have been my choice for her,
right.
but you know, she's happy.
Yeah.
And that's what she wants.
That's what you want for your kid more than anything, right?
As parents, that's all we want, is for our kids to be happy.
Absolutely.
It really doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah. And so you now have created a new life. You're living on your own, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a whole different life. And how are you? What fills your bucket? What do you do?
Actually, one of the biggest gifts my husband gave me was that he traveled.
Okay.
And he traveled a lot.
Yes.
So he was gone towards just before he died, 3 weeks out of 4.
Oh, wow.
So I was on my own a lot, and Michelle and I were on our own a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She was down in the city living. She comes home a lot, a fair amount of time. But, you know, I had my own friends. I had my own life. I had my own activities.
Thank goodness.
And built all of that. So that was a true gift.
Yes.
You don't think of it a gift at the time,
No.
but it was a true gift. When he was gone, that was all in place.
You
I had
were
my fitness
independent.
class.
Yeah.
I was independent. I had my job. I had my friends. I had my activities, and life just sort of, it didn't go along smoothly. It was like this for a while.
Of course.
But you pick up the strains and you build in a new direction.
Yes.
And you know, there are financial impacts always when you lose a spouse. And so, you know, that's we're sorting that out.
Yes.
And it's going to be okay.
Yes. Well, one day at a time. And you have a really cool job title. Tell me your job title. I was like, she what? What does she do?
I'm the legal assistant in the Deputy Judge Advocate's office at Canada Forces Base Borden.
Ooh, that's so.
It sounds very exciting.
It does. I thought,
Sounds very
she's such
exotic.
a big deal. So
I do everything from the vacuuming.
Oh, okay, good. Kind of like nursing. I emptied the garbage. Yes, yes.
And cutting the birthday cakes.
Yeah.
To doing the legal files for our officers. So I work for the legal branch, the JAG branch, for two, soon to be 3 legal officers and 1 chief warrant. And so they have their very specific job titles. Everything else falls into my.
You're the everything else lady.
I'm the everything else.
It's kind of like Jody. He's the other guy.
Side, right? At the bottom of
all
the
the
page.
other stuff. Yes,
all the other
yes.
stuff nobody tells you about when you apply for a job.
Yeah, no, of course not. But yeah, that was like nursing, and you're emptying the garbage and wiping things down, and it's all part of it, right? But yeah, that sounds like a pretty interesting job anyways.
It's never boring.
There you go. That's
We're in
good.
charge of all of the discipline for Canada Forces Base Borden. So if someone's in trouble at Borden,
ooh, they have to speak to you?
They don't speak to me, but I'll see their name go across my desk, and sometimes I see it 2 or 3 times.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh.
Isn't their mama proud?
Yes. Yikes, yikes. Wow. That's pretty neat. And so if we could just, when we wrap things up, or as we wrap things up, what would be your greatest piece of advice for parents who are struggling with their children with, I mean, you've been through kind of everything, a child losing her vision, mental health issues, suicide attempts. I mean, you've been through so much with your daughter, and you're on this side, and she's thriving, and she has hard days like everyone else. But is there anything you would say to parents to help guide them through?
You know, you're not going to be able to see the end of the journey from where you stand. All you can do is take the next right step.
Yes, that's all you can do. And as best as you know how.
Yep.
Right?
Follow your gut.
Yes.
Don't listen to other people. It's easy to have opinions when you don't have any chips in the game. Follow your gut. You know your kid better than anybody. Follow that.
Follow that. And you know, I just, as I read this, And Jordy's giving us the signal, stop talking, Yvonne. As I read this, when I asked you what your legacy would be, you said, you strive each day to make a difference for someone. And I think that's just, and I know Michelle is certainly doing that. She is being an advocate for change, and so are you. She has created Blind Girl Inc., and you have spoken to groups as well. You both have, haven't you?
Yes, we do. Michelle is a speaker with Blind Girl Inc., and so she goes into high schools. She also speaks to teachers. We've been in some of the jails about creating inclusive classrooms.
Wonderful.
Those kinds of things. I've talked to parent groups about financing and education for a child with a disability, because there are all those extra costs that come in and that are huge, and finding how do you do that,
and always not all covered,
and it's not all covered.
Yes.
And where do you find funds for this, and where do you find funds for that, and how do you get this put together so that you don't end up with the national debt at the end of the day. And we just, keep going. And so we talk, and having a child that we were very lucky, very, very lucky with Michelle. Her social worker caught her suicide attempt, spoke to her on the phone, kept her on the phone until I got home from work, and told me to take her directly to RVH. And they hospitalized her and held her for 72 hours for me so that I can make the house relatively safe.
Right.
If a child has a plan and they're determined to do that, follow that plan, all you can do is the best that you can do. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. We got lucky. We won.
Yes.
There are many who are not so lucky.
I know. Oh, I thank you, Diane, for everything that you have done to support your daughter and to be a voice for people. And I tell everybody should check out Blind Girl Inc., right?
Yes,
Your story is there, Michelle's
an opportunity
story.
to come out.
Yes. Have both of you speak. You're wonderful.
Talk to groups and talk about service dogs.
All of it. Yes.
All of it.
All of it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. We're going to hug it out after.
Okay.
So thanks for joining us for Real Life Talks. This is a show about learning how to just show up for yourself and others, and sometimes having hard conversations and holding back tears. So if you want to just show up for yourself, be empowered and resilient, my call to action for you is plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks.